So what is the result? What do you get when you have a country with no rule of law? At the top. At the very top. I mean, we keep talking about Syria and Libya and dictatorships and this and that. But what happens if you democratically elect, right? Democrat, Republican, we picked last time of Barack Obama. Right, and we have this great thing called democracy, and we vote, and we get stuff done, and we have all these different branches of government with checks and balances, right? The three major branches of government, right, from the president to the Supreme Court and the Congress. So what do you happen when the Congress decides we're going to hold somebody in contempt, known as Eric Holder, over Fast and Furious documents not being released, because we know if those documents are released, they will show that they wanted this whole Fast and Furious thing to happen. Not necessarily the guy to get killed, the law enforcement agents to get killed, but for the mission or whatever of Fast and Furious to go on as planned, so that they could remove guns, or at least, very least, assault rifles out of people's hands in this country by claiming too many of our guns are going over there, and it's the high-powered assault rifles, we need to do a ban. That's what the documents would show. And if the documents showed that, then you have treason at the highest level. So they can never show these documents. And the webbot, as I was commenting recently, I think this Fast and Furious is what it talked about. In the Fall Guy, they're going to have to put someone down, and they put Eric Holder down. They voted in contempt, easily passed. Looking around, all right, where's the sergeant at arms? Where's this guy at? Where is he? Over there? No, maybe he's over there. Nope, he's not in my laundry room. Man, shouldn't he have already put the handcuffs on him and taken him to jail, basically? I mean, held in contempt. So the next level under Eric Holder, who is the head of the Justice Department, has sent a letter in to Congress. And the letter states, we're not going to be pressing charges or prosecuting or arresting our boss, Eric Holder. And we have a history of doing that, and so does the government, ever since the Reagan days when, quote, executive privilege has been enacted on whatever the matter is. And in this case, Obama has said he's putting down executive privilege on these documents, so now we'll never get to see them. That's the same as his national security stamp. National security. Iran-Contra scandal, caught red-handed, stamp that sucker with national security. Give me that red stamp. That's it. So there's no rule of law at the top. So if there's no rule of law at the top, and you think you're in a democracy, and you have these democratic rules, and you have checks and balances, and the checks and balances themselves are saying, we only work when it's you peasants, you schmucks, you Bernie Madoff and his brother, whatever. I heard about that today. His brother, he's getting 10 years in jail. His brother pled guilty. Bernie Madoff Jr., whatever his brother's name is. Really? Oh, see, what are you talking about, Jason? For rule of law does work. They got that sucker. Ponzi schemer. Yeah, matter of fact, they did, huh? How about Eric Holder? Nah, hands off. J.P. Morgan. He's not part of the government. J.P. Morgan. Jamie Dimon of J.P. Morgan. Nah, hands off him too. Oh, I got one. MF Global. John Corzine. Former head of Goldman Sachs. No longer head of it. Therefore, he's gone now, right? He's retired off of Goldman Sachs. He had his own company called MF Global. How about him? He also withheld information from you guys and blatantly lied to your face and said he had no idea, blah, 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 and then emails proved 100% he did. Now, they couldn't enact executive privilege on old John Corzine because the president had nothing to do with it. But this time, with Fast and Furious, the president did have something to do with it, or else he would not be able to enact executive privilege. Now, could he? And for all these people, there's so many people, give him a chance, man. Obama, man, yeah, he tried. It's not his fault. He inherited it. Okay, all right. Okay. He inherited it. No, it's not his fault. No, yeah, okay, all right. But this Fast and Furious happened under Obama, not Bush. Wasn't handed to him by Bush. This was done when Obama was in charge. And Obama is now covering up this investigation, the material that Congress has asked for. And now the Justice Department, who's the only one who's going to go after him. I mean, I suppose the FBI could arrest him. But when you have the Attorney General of Attorney Generals saying, I'm busted, but the guys right under me that I hire, that are above everybody else, they're not going to touch me. Which is what I've always said. They're not going to arrest themselves. The elite don't put these minions in power to go arrest themselves. It's not going to happen. So for all the bozos who still believe in Drake and Wilcock and Fulford, oh, where are you guys? Where are these clowns at that came on bad-mouthing me when I did that video, saying there will be 100%, not a single, not even one. I said, you know what? I'll take that back. That's what I said. Maybe, just maybe we'll get lucky and John Corzine, right? MF Global guy. Maybe they'll get him. He'll be the fall guy for all of them to say, look, we got somebody. And even then, they still haven't done it. Hasn't been a single arrest. These guys aren't going to arrest themselves. As soon as one of them would arrest the other one, they'd blow the whistle on the rest of them so bad it'd be just devastating. So it's like, you're not allowed to be in the club as long as you have major dirt. And by being in the club, you're automatically going to have some major dirt. So if you ever get out of line, we'll pull this dirt out on you. So as the webbot said, there would be no viewing of some documents. It would enrage people in America. We would get pissed off. We can't see these documents. Why aren't we allowed to see these documents? Obama hides the ultimate document, pulling the ultimate maneuver of all. Executive privilege. Go pound sand, you peasants. So during the collapse of the Roman Empire 2,000 years ago, approximately, the same thing was happening. The same things were happening. There was no rule of law at the top. And when there's no rule of law at the top, it trickles down and down and down, and you have major problems within society who look around and say, well, they're not doing it, they're not following it, why should I care? And to be honest with you, why should they? Why should a criminal say, well, the government just got busted for stuff they could get hung, treason for? They're not going to show it. And then everyone who's for that government is going to sit back and defend them. Well, they probably had some important stuff in there, and I trust them because I voted for them, and I trust them that there was important stuff that the rest of us can't see. And you got to understand, with government, they need that, obscurity from time to time, and this is one of those times. Really? Well, what do we know about Fast and Furious? We were running guns over there to Mexican drug lords, of all people, to track them. You're going to track a drug agency in another country that you have no jurisdiction over? That's absurd, and it's not going to happen. And naturally, one gun came back and killed somebody, and I think a total of 2 or 3 law enforcement agents have died since then, or because of that. So that's what we do know. What we don't know is what are the prime details, the specific details within Fast and Furious, and what were those in charge of Fast and Furious saying back and forth. Can we see that? And when the government tells you, no, we can't show you that, there's nothing good that they could possibly, even the strongest supporter of Obama and Eric Holder can't come out here and tell me. You can't give me a single reason that's going to say, well, this is why that's kind of okay. Or, I know that we didn't get the information. I know they covered it up now with this executive privilege and all that. But from time to time, we do need... Yeah, you're right. From time to time, we do need to keep things secret. Matter of fact, a lot of the times, right? But again, because we already know what this is about, there's not some other instance of, oh, we found this also. You're like, that's going to throw everybody off. Like, whoa, we didn't know that was going on. Or, it's not going to happen. So, there's no rule of law in America. I mean, it's been obvious for a while. As Lindsey Williams said 2 years ago, within 2 years, you won't recognize America. And if there's one prime example of someone asking me, well, where's a real good example of that statement? When in 2 years you're not going to recognize America. Prime example, what I just talked about. No more rule of law. The Justice Department is not going to go and arrest. They even said it. We're not going to arrest our boss, Eric Holder, even though the Congress, which is the most powerful body in America, more powerful than the president, because they have the voting majority, and if they can vote on something, a majority, they don't even need the president to sign into law. They can do it themselves. So the most powerful, most important body of government within our government has decided this guy's getting nailed for what he's done. We're prosecuting him, basically. Voted, it went down, boom. And is now being told, No, we're not going to arrest them. Now, does Congress have its own police force to go enforce it? Well, they do. It's the Justice Department. But the Justice Department is saying we're not going to do it. So then what? Does the Congress have the authority to pull in, the military, the National Guard to do? Nope, can't do that. We have our justice system, and our justice system says the Justice Department will do this. But our justice system and laws, etc., don't say what happens when the Justice Department decides not to obey the law, not to do what they're supposed to do, and basically tell you to go pound sand. Well, in that particular instance, you now have a dictatorship. So that is the prime example of when Lindsey Williams says, you're not going to recognize America in 2 years. You won't recognize it. We had the Supreme Court Justice 5-4 ruling, or who would have thought of that? Boy, on the fence, 5-4, always. Ruling that this Obamacare thing is legit, and it is a tax, by the way. And they have all the sound bites of Obama over and over again. This is not a tax. And he's arguing with the guy that was giving him the interview. You're just going to put sound clips and sound bites together to make it. This is not a tax. Supreme Court Justice, it's a tax. And therefore, it's actually illegal. So that's the first thing. It's not legal. And the Supreme Court says it's legal. Well, there goes the rule of law there. There goes your country. You're not recognizing it anymore. It doesn't function as a republic. It does not function as even a democracy, any form of the word, any thought of how that word or definition of that word might go. Not even close. And then we have the ultimate. Congress decides this guy's in contempt. They actually vote. Now I figured when they voted it was just going to get knocked down. It didn't get knocked down. It actually passed. And then it passes, and we're not going to arrest him. But if it's Bernie Madoff, this guy who's not a part of the club, oh, we're going to arrest him. And you, peasant, for robbing a bank, you robbed a bank, you're getting 50 years. Robbing a bank. What are these guys doing? What are these banks doing? The Federal Reserve's robbing everybody. Daily. But that's legal. It's a law. A law says they can do it, but you can't. And not only that, but you're not going to be able to see what they're doing because we've never audited the Fed. And we don't think we should. This thing has to be secretive. So I pray, and you better pray, that in the coming weeks here, this audit the Fed bill by Ron Paul gets passed through Congress, and we finally get to do a full audit. Not a little semi-audit of just the recent funds that got bailed out banks and all that Bernie Sanders did, which I applaud him for that. We're talking the audit of all audits. And man, would I love to see before and after the economic crisis from 2008, before that and after that, where has some of this money been going that they've been keeping secret? We already know the answer. And it's going to be JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, Bank of America, some more for JP Morgan, another little bit more for JP Morgan. Matter of fact, a lion's share for JP Morgan, etc. Sure, it upsets you. Sure, it makes your stomach bothered. Sure, I got pissed off when I heard the news about the Supreme Court thing, and then the news about they're not going after Eric Holder. Sure, it pisses you off. But and I always have to remind myself over and over again. You're witnessing the history repeating. The Roman Empire, the same thing. There was no rule of law at the end of it, and it collapsed and imploded on itself. And something new came, something better. It didn't come like Santa Claus dropping down and bringing you a present. It was a violent, very turmoil time frame or whatever, period. Why won't that happen again? Is it something different nowadays? I mean, are we all of a sudden, civilized all of a sudden? I mean, again, look at the top. Is Eric Holder not getting arrested? Is that civilized? No, it's not. No rule of law. That's not civilized. This whole thing with these banks, is that civilized? Banks take all the money and leave you with the debt. And then your kids who aren't even born yet, that may not be born yet, or are born yet, and their kids and their kids' kids and their kids' kids automatically have a price tag on their soul as soon as they're born. Nah, I don't think that's pretty normal either. So all I can say is keep stacking silver. Let this thing come and go. Try not to get involved when the violence starts. Some of you, it may be hard because I can only imagine if I had, $100,000, $200,000 in a 401k, I still had a job, I couldn't get out of it, I tried to get out of it, I begged them to get out of it, they said I didn't qualify, and then I lost it all because of this system forced me to stay in it. You're going to want to kill somebody. You're going to want to kill the person that kept telling you, no, you can't take it out, no, it's stuck here, you can't take it out. And that person is probably going to be quit or fired, is probably going to quit or be fired by the time anything happens anyways. I was just doing my job. I remember taking your phone call, sir. I do. I remember taking it, and I really looked into it. That I can't, even if I wanted to forcefully take it out, I can't. It's just, the system doesn't allow for it. Right. I don't have to worry about that because I don't have 401k. I don't have my money in their system except a little bit in the bank part of that system, as I always say. But I'm not gonna need to get involved, and I hope you don't have to get involved. But I can't blame anybody if they do get involved when they lose everything and want blood and want someone to pay back. Again, this is history. Most of the people who that's going to happen to, and they're going to do something about it, not, most 99, maybe 100% of them, whatever, will never heard of old J-Snip 4, never heard of any of my stories or history or anything I've ever talked about, the cycles, silver, 401k, won't have a clue. They'll just be a blind sheep that trusted in the system. I was always told that this was the right thing, my favorite word, the right thing to do, and I just got raped and pillaged heavy duty, and now you're telling me that it's lost or it's gone, some glitch happened, and you don't know where my 401k money is? Or it just collapsed and went down a black hole? Right. People are going to lose their mind, literally. You think these zombie stories are bad now, people eating each other's faces, which, by the way, that talk was in the Webbot reports a while back. That's interesting that that's taking place now. There's no rule of law. But I do have news for you. There will be rule of law sooner or later. And when it comes back, those who were in power when there was no rule of law will have the most to worry about. That's what history says. Happens every time. This time will be no different.